Rock Creek Elementary, Allison Likens, Media Specialist. Schmidt Elementary, Ashley Brown, Secretary. Smith Elementary, Kimberly Hutchison, Administrative Assistant. Southside Elementary, Amy Warren, ML Teaching Assistant. Taylorsville Elementary, Liliana Paula Lamadrid Vasquez, Media Specialist. Yeah, you can start looping it around some. Okay. Central Middle School, Nicole Hollander, Library Media Specialist. Northside Middle School, Kelly Bowes, Administrative Assistant. Columbus East High School, Jackie Jones, Assistant Senior Project Coordinator. Columbus North High School, Imelda Letty Vasquez Guevara, Family Engagement Interpreter. CSA New Tech High School, Darrellin Brown, Administrative Assistant. Johnson Early Education Center, Kathy Stoughton, Special Education Teaching Assistant. McDowell Adult Education Center and Bright Beginnings, Brooke Chowning Lloyd, Teaching Assistant. ISC, Carrie Meisner, Student Records Clerk. Operations Center, Andrew McComb, Supply and Delivery Lead. So before you and standing, we have almost 300 years of service, anywhere ranging from 2 years to 44 years of service with BCSC. So standing before you are remarkable people, and we have probably about 1,400 of them, 1,500 that show up each and every day to serve our students. On behalf of BCSC, I thank all of you and congratulations on your recognition. And let's have a great end to the school year. At this time, we'll shake hands with the school board and have a great evening.
agenda, I think we have Mr. David Clark to take us through Columbus North High School cohort spotlight.
Good evening. We're getting the timer ready for me here. Thank you for allowing us an opportunity to present on a practice or something that we've done here at Columbus North High School. Clearly you've got the packet ahead of time, so we're going to talk a little bit about the cohort model. The first thing I want to talk quickly is the infographic that you get. It shares a little bit about Columbus North High School. Obviously things that we think stand out for us are some of the academic successes with the AP test, the dual credit, and this past year, the Indiana Department of Education College Readiness Award, which has been very, very helpful for us as we've done a lot of good professional development this year. Other things that stand out are around our foundation, our pillars, UDL, PBIS, and of course, I think this is 156 years that we have been a school in this city. So those are things that stand out for us as our infographic. Tonight we want to talk to you a little bit about the introduction of the cohort model. You've heard about it, you've made some decisions last year about it. We felt like we wanted to share some things. About 15 months ago, we were approached by senior leadership here at BCSC with about a model of education that included building relationships, which last. It emphasized employability skills, and it helps individuals with things such as long-term memories, even when they all learn differently. So after some preponderance of the data, we felt that we had been given an offer we couldn't refuse. So we went with that, and it's been we believe, very helpful. We're going to share with you tonight some really anecdotal data. I know that Mr. Edwards is prepared in the near future to share some hard data about it. Personally, I feel like anecdotal data, the story trumps the data, and that's why we wanted to set a foundation for you with the story and how that has worked here, and then let Mr. Edwards build upon that with the hard data. Quickly, our cohorts, freshman cohort, I won't spend a lot of time with that. Sophomore cohort, junior cohort, and our senior cohort. So those are our 4 different cohorts. So tonight our goal, again, is to share some foundational things for you. I'm going to turn time over to, we're going to do the ABCs squared here. So our goals have been around attendance, behaviors, credits, and communication. So we call that our ABC squared. And I'm going to let each cohort principal talk to you a little bit about each one of those goals. To start us off tonight will be Mrs. Hester. Jen?
Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about attendance, and it is through a story of a young lady who missed 56 school days last year and earned only 5 credits as a freshman. This school year, she's only missed 4 days and already in 1 semester has earned 10 credits. So she's doubled what she did in a year in just 1 semester. The strategies that we use to get this young lady to move forward, the first one would be relationship building through Sparks. So we have a slide basically for every student. I have 600 roughly. It fluctuates just a little bit. And so we talk to the kids about who's your trusted adult, what are you interested in, what are you passionate about, what are your goals, and how can we support you? From there, we move into doing one-to-one meetings with either our counselor, academic coach, or sometimes myself. And those meetings result in developing strategies for the individual child. We talk to them and try to have them tell us what their barriers are so we can work with them to develop strategies that will work. Also, we do check-ins, so that would be our third strategy. And I've already talked to you a little bit about the outcome. The attendance increased by 26 percentage points with going from 56 days absent to 4, and again, the credits from 5 to 15. So I've enjoyed working in this model and watching that kind of success with attendance. And now, Braylon Nolting will talk to you a little bit about our behaviors.
Okay, good evening. We have a couple examples up there. One is a whole group example, one is an individual student example. Through consistent review of data, weekly we meet with our cohorts, our team. We were able to identify some behaviors and how we could address those proactively and reduce the number of major referrals. So one cohort went from 8 major referrals first semester to 1 the second semester. Student B, we identified at the beginning of the year as a student that we may need to wrap around, had a parent meeting, all these services in place, connected with them, and they've gone from 16 days of OSS to 0. So 3 key things there: communication, relationships, and consistency. So that has shown an outcome of decreased unexcused absences, decreased office discipline referrals, and really we just look at how we can support them. So they are in the office, but we're supporting them rather than writing that office referral, and then increase in credits.
All right, and Levi Simpson, I get the privilege to talk to you a little bit about our credits. The first one we have up here is looking at someone who's starting their high school career, and we're able, with the cohort model, have those relationships and those communications very early on to be able to provide those wraparound services and change what program that individual may be in to help them find their strength and what works best for them. The other individual, someone who's a little bit later in their high school career, came in, we're at 23 credits, and we're sitting here today at the end of April, and we've got a cap and gown ready for that individual. They're actually at a part-time employment right now, looking at full-time employment starting this summer, and this individual is tickled to death that that's going to be happening. So these wraparound services that we're able to provide, leading to academic success early, middle, and late in their high school career, which is a lot of exciting to watch and be a part of.
And I'm Corey Williams. Talk a little bit about our last C, communication. So we have a goal to contact 100% of our families by the end of the year. So last year when we pulled data, we had just over 2,000 parent contacts or family contacts for the whole school year. We're at over 9,000, and that's through the end of Q3. So we will be easily over 10,000 by the end of the school year confirmed family contacts. And that's 84% of our families we have reached right now. And a lot of that's through intentional planning. We, as cohorts, keep track of which families we've communicated with, so it's a lot of communication within our cohort to know who's touched base with what families, and then intentionally reaching out to the kids that are always here doing what they're supposed to be doing, but maybe we don't see the full picture. So making sure we intentionally reach out to those families and know that we're here to support them. So a lot of collaboration within our cohorts to pull families in and make sure they know we're here to support them.
So our goal is to share some stories, because you hear about the individual and you see the changes in their lives and you feel the impact that it's had. We're very supportive of this particular model. We've also done some surveys. We did 3 surveys. We got feedback from families. I would highlight a couple things. The first one, connected. The last one, connected. It talks about connecting to school with their child. Teacher feedback. We've did a survey with our teachers, and again, I would highlight better relationships, communication and support, and keeping kids from falling through the cracks is what this cohort model has done for us. The last survey was student feedback. So we interviewed a few students, and we want to take a little bit of time and let those students tell you in their own voice how that worked.
My name is Elijah Murray. I'm a part of cohort 24. I've had a lot of positive interaction with my cohorts. My counselor, Ms. Freshour, she's been a great help in helping me apply for schools and scholarships. She's also provided a lot of recommendations for schools and scholarships. My principal, Mr. Simpson, he's helped me receive the MLK Community Scholarship back in January. At the beginning of the year, also, I was experiencing some family troubles with my family moving and me wanting to stay out here that I kind of had to navigate around. Ms. Freshour, Mr. Clark, Mr. Simpson, they were all a great help in that process to ensure that I got my diploma here in May.
I had some trouble organizing my classes, so I went to the cohort and they really got me through it. I think you can get close with the cohort, like make sure you guys have a good relationship with each other and not having to have a new cohort every year. It's nice to have someone that you already know.
It's allowed me to connect with the administrators and have weekly or bi-weekly meetings with them about my grades and just how I'm doing, allowing me to feel more comfortable in the school, because compared to the last system, they didn't talk with you much, but this system you get to know them, you get to work on your grades. I mean, it's way much better than last year's. So I will get a pass from Mr. Knock, using Mr. Knock, and I'll go in there in her office and we'll talk about my grades. And based on my grades, we'll make goals off of those grades and what I should prioritize on working on so I can raise those grades up. Because I have a set group of people that I work with, I come into the office a lot and I talk with Miss Mantooth or Miss Knowlton, Miss Stemnock, any of the 2025 cohorts about anything. And I mean, I feel comfortable enough. They call me an honorary office member because I'm here so much. I think the cohort model has definitely helped me move closer towards graduation. My first 2 years, I kind of struggled, and I thought like, oh, I'm gonna do a ton of summer school work. But now it's just been limited down to like 1 or 2 classes, and I feel like I'm on the track to being able to graduate next year.
I feel like a cohort team means like more outgoing, and like the team we have is very caring, and like you staying with more people gives you like reassurance, and like it makes me feel better about it, since we don't have to be switching people over and over. Since you stay with that same people, it makes you feel better. You get to know them. You just feel comfortable in the place you're at. I think since last year wasn't like very supportive, I didn't feel very supported. I would just come down here a little bit and it would just be like, oh, you're doing not too great, and like you need to get better. This year, I feel like it switched my personality. It just made me feel more motivated that we have more people supporting you with the cohort. Yeah.
So I want to conclude with just saying we realize that any system, we're new, and this is our first year. We feel like we've made some good strides already, but every system has some things to improve on. We've identified a few things where we need to be contact with students who consistently follow expectations. So some of our kids who are always doing things right haven't had those contacts. We realize that even those students need to touch base. So we need to get better at that. And then tracking the increasing number of options for graduation. You'll hear more about that if you stay on the board very long, different diploma types and different pathways and different points instead of credits and those. So we've got to be able to stay on track of all that and monitoring all that. And then just continue to improve communication with various programs that our students attend around a CVP, CSA, McDowell, C4, improving those processes. So that is our sharing this evening, and would open the board to any questioning that you might have for any of my assistant principals.
Questions? Yeah, Mr. Nell.
First, a comment. I thought it was very telling that the first 2, attendance and behavior, credits seem to come up in everything and in a positive way. So I thought that was very encouraging. My question is, 2 questions. First one is, how is the work that iGrad has been doing? How do you dovetail what the new part of the cohorts along with what iGrad's doing to get kids to graduate?
They've been great partners with us. They have, at Columbus North, they are a part of each cohort. So we've taken our iGrad coaches, and they actually are part of one of the cohorts. And so they've been able to specialize as well. It's a little change for them, but yeah, they attend, the leader of the iGrad program attends each one of the cohort meetings. They meet every Monday morning for an hour or whatever they need there, and that iGrad person is there with each of those meetings talking about the students and their needs that they have.
And my other question or comment, maybe it's a comment which isn't necessarily directly towards you. I think this is more towards Mr. Edwards, but on the work you said he's coming to us with in the future. When this was first proposed, there was some pushback in a survey from teachers. I supported it anyway because I thought any program that focuses a group of adults working on attendance, behavior, and homework can't be bad. But I would love to see down the road a survey of the teachers at East and North and their reaction after a year to what they think of this program. But thank you for the presentation.
Sure, yes. Other questions? Rick?
I'd be curious how any of the assistant principals here would reflect on how their job has changed from maybe 2 years ago to this year, what the experience has been. How is the way you spend your time different as you've moved into the cohort system?
Well, I would say my collaboration time has greatly increased, and my working kind of on my own different tasks individually has decreased, which I find to be rewarding and wonderful. I have loved working with the team. We all did a very intentional interviewing process to figure out which personalities would fit best with each team, and I'm thrilled. I love coming to work every day, and I love working with the team, and I love being able to work with students and families more and by myself less. So, thank you.
Ms. Hester would be the only one really who came from the old role of assistant principal to the new role, but I don't want to keep anyone else if you want to share. Okay.
Last year when we voted on this, I was a little bit hesitant to vote anything other than no, because at the time we didn't have job descriptions, clarity around how this process was going to work. But having a senior at East and then her boyfriend actually goes to North, Elijah, that spoke first on the video, I've kind of seen both perspectives from both schools. I think the thing that I really like is that you've got, even though you haven't hit all the kids, there's probably some kids that are making it through high school relatively easily. Those touch points help from a parent's perspective, but the fact that you've got kids that are probably at the opposite end of that have had struggles in some way, shape, or form, I just want to commend both Columbus North and East with the effort that's taken place to make this work. I know early on there, to Dale's point, there was a lot of questions about how it was going to work out. But I think from what I have seen, just the experience of talking to my daughter and talking to most likely my future son-in-law, it just really feels like there's been a good outcome in the end. The challenge will be finding a way to have more regular communication like we had tonight throughout the school year to help all of us and the community understand how the extra money we're spending by putting more people in place is going to help give us better outcomes. So the challenge I would give to you is think about how you can do this more often to just help us be reassured that we're doing the right things.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll tack on is, and kind of going with Mr. Allen, I'd like to see an update from the teachers. That was one of the hesitancies that I had going into the vote. So I think I'd task that to Mr. Edwards, yep, over there. And then I really appreciate everything. I've talked with a lot of my friends that are teachers and a lot of some students that I know as well, and they've spoke very highly of the program, and even the team's members. So I appreciate the support you brought, and I think anytime you can bring 80% of your time around those 20% of at-risk students, we're going to get a good bang for the buck on that. I think the only other thing I would say is, like, when we're doing the review at a higher level is I'd like to see a reflection of the aggregated data just to see before and after. I know that was, you said it's coming, so I just want to, like the attendance, I think those are all critical inputs into the success of the future Bulldogs and Olympians in that case. And then the last piece is, and just because East isn't represented here, I'd like to add to that reflection the support structure for the one assistant principal that's being shared between two cohorts, because I know that was one of my concerns going in, was how would you stretch across two classes. So not necessarily for you, but when we get the update overall, I think that would be great stuff to hear.
And I've just got a couple quick comments. And first, thank you all very much for the information on the A, B, C squared. And I will be anxious to see some of the hard data in terms of graduation rate, attendance, and so forth. And then lastly, it was especially great to see and hear from the kids, I thought. So thank you very much for that. Thank you all.
I'd just like to say thank you for doing a great job. Like I said, what was that? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark and team.
Can I say one more?
Yes, of course, Mr.
Okay, I
Allen.
thought I was done, but the other thing that hasn't been mentioned is this was kind of made as an offer that you couldn't refuse with a very short notice, and I am totally impressed how quickly you put it together and rolled it out. I can't say enough about it. It didn't seem like a year of chaos. It seemed like a great startup year.
Yeah, if I could clarify that when I said that, it wasn't like it was forced upon us, right? It was an offer I couldn't refuse because I saw the value of it. So just a point of clarification from that. And I've been blessed. I've got 4 very good assistant principals, and they've been a blessing not only in my life, but for the students and the staff here at Columbus North. So that has really made things work really well here, my assistant principals.
And I would say great job getting your infrastructure built out. I mean, I already see the cohort names on the offices. I mean, you wasted no time, and it shows.
Thank you, Mr. Clark and team. Appreciate it.
I will add, first of all, thank you for the presentation. Very good to hear the stories. I know we're going to have some data coming to share with you, and we're seeing some really good numbers. On the topic of data, CEA did survey teachers back January or so. I think we had the conversation. I pulled up the team survey results from maybe our February collaboration meeting, and very, very positive outcomes from that, from a numbers perspective, rating things on a scale of 1 to 5, and also the comments, they did come up with some opportunities for improvement. They're practical things about this seems to be working really well, but maybe we could tweak this a little bit, so we have a page of those as well. But overall, with them surveying the teachers and bringing that back to us, we're continuing to work, but we do have some data to work through on that.
Next on the agenda, we have school board member reports. Can I start with Mr. Bryan at the end? Do you have any, Mr. Major?
Nothing new for both redevelopment or health trust.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stenner?
Business Advisory Group met last week and spent time on, Mr. Edwards shared with the community members on the Community Advisory Group about senior projects, and it hadn't really occurred to me until Mr. Edwards started to talk about it. With different high school buildings, somebody says senior project, and I think I know what they're talking about because I had 2 boys that did senior projects. But with so many different buildings, when you say senior project, it might mean something different between East and North, Virtual Pathway, McDowell, or the CSA school. So there's been some effort, and Dr. Edwards was getting some feedback from the community on ideas about where senior projects go from here. Do we continue to see the diversity? Is it time to look at best practices? So those are some of the decisions that will be coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Stenner. I have no new reports. Mr. Grimes?
A couple things here. First off, from the School Foundation, some of this Mr. Stenner shared on my behalf at the last board meeting. But Saturday we had great weather for the 4th annual Good, Better, Best 5K that the proceeds go to support recognizing a BCSC teacher for what's called the Grimes Wallace Out of the Box Award. We had a record number of nominations this year, just as I believe Dr. Pleak shared that there were a record number of nominations for Building Teacher of the Year this year as well. But to repeat what Mr. Stenner said, because of the record number of nominations, outstanding nominees, Kriya Hill, 3rd grade at Rock Creek, and Krista Bartos, special ed at Smith, were our first ever dual winners this year. And then also from the School Foundation, the annual campaign begins May 1. And anybody out in the community that's curious about the future of the Wizards game, that has not been forgotten about. It has simply been shifted this year, and that will take place closer to the beginning of basketball season, November 9th. And then lastly, from the legislative front, the Indiana School Boards Association, 2 or 3 or 4 of us that regularly attend the regional meetings are missing that meeting tonight in Seymour for this one, but Mr. Nowlin went to Indianapolis and picked up some information from us. I would say, I don't like to do this, but at the risk of maybe kind of sort of tooting our own horn, this board was recognized by the Indiana School Board Association for being a recipient of the exemplary Governance Award for participating in professional activities put on by ISBA. And yeah, so lots of new things that came out of the short session that we will be working on in terms of policy. So that's it for me.
No updates from my committees.
I don't have any updates.
Okay. Cabinet reports. Dr. Phillips?
Thank you. I just have 2 slides this evening, so I will just present from here. This is just an update from the February ADM count. I know it's hard to see on the screen there, but we are down 61 students from the fall count to the spring count, which is well below our usual decline. From a budget standpoint, I always budget for a loss of 150 students in there. That's about been the worst year in the last decade or so. So from a financial standpoint, it's a net gain against budget here. But the really interesting story is on the next slide around the senior class. So I looked this year wondering about the cohort model, looking for data. For the most part in the past, this is just high school students lost from the ADM change from fall to spring. So between 2017 and 22, we had an average of 108 fewer high school students in the February count compared to the fall count. These past 2 years was 76 and 80. So 2 years is at least getting us closer to what we could call a trend. But when you net out the early grads, so the students who graduated at midterm, the average of the previous 5 years was 59, and last year was 42. This year's 39, so the lowest that we've been in the last 7 or 8 years. So it's a positive trend, and our high school staff deserve credit for their work building relationships with students. Now, these are not exact, we don't know that these are the same students. They could be some students that left and others that enroll, but from a net perspective, it's a nod to the cohort team's work and the staff at CSA, C4, and CVP who really build relationships with kids and try to keep them engaged in school. Any questions about the February ADM count?
The only question I had was, do we understand the numbers enough and the reason why they're changing? Are they changing corporations? Are they dropping out of school, or are they moving?
All of those things are included in all the historical data, but I have not broken it down any more granular than what you see on the screen at this point.
Questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Phillips.
Looks like our slide jumped ahead to old business, but public comments would be our second opportunity right now, actually.
It would. And again, we did not have anyone sign up for public comments tonight.
Okay.
Okay, old business.
Yeah, so I have some items I'm requesting for approval, starting with the old business, just one. 2 sets of minutes. Minutes of the public hearing of April 15th and the regular school board meeting of April 15th. So I would ask for your approval of those 2 sets of minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the 2 meetings mentioned in number 3A as presented by Dr. Roberts.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes and Mr. Schultz. All those in favor of approving meeting minutes as shown in item 3A, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. That'll take us into my request for approval. New business items. You have a list of supplemental contracts in your packet, as well as 1 field trip. No professional leaves tonight. School fundraisers, I think just 2, both of them from this building. You have claims and payroll dated April 29th, a little over $1.1 million. The payroll for March 8th through April 5th, a total of about $3.7 million that only actually covered 1 work period. Also have student handbooks. Some changes were listed out for you. Those changes primarily just alignment and catching up with policy changes that we make, and then getting calendars and names and so forth else correct. Letter G is permission to award a change order to the HVAC improvement for the GMP contract for Schmidt Elementary. Also, the last one, permission to award a change order to educational improvement for the GMP contract. That covered a lot of things, but specifically we are concluding the high school athletics piece of that right now, and I believe that is it. Ask for your approval, please.
Thank you.
I'd like to move that we break out line item F, 2024-2025 student handbook recommendations.
Second.
Thank you. All right, do I have a motion for 4B through E and G and H?
I move that we approve new business items in number 4, items B through E and G and H as presented by Dr. Roberts.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes and Mr. Schultz. Any questions or comments by the team on those items? No? Okay, all those in favor of approving item 4B through E and G and H, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I have item F left.
So do we start with a motion here? I move that we approve item 4F as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Nellen.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Any questions or comments by the team?
I have a couple questions.
Consistent with last year, just so everybody understands what this one is, the student handbook change. One of the changes is for both Fadria and Southside to no longer have visitors during lunch. I think we just heard some very great work at a high school level of engagement with parents and family. It'd be really good, I think, to continue to allow parents and family to engage during lunchtime and get used to being in the schools. So my hope is that we actually someday change the student handbooks to allow parents to re-engage with their child in a lunch setting at school.
I do have a question on this one. In the handbook, so the parent cannot necessarily go to the school, but if they'd like to go to school and collect their child for lunch, is that still available to parents in all schools? Okay.
And I would just add to Mr. Major's comments there, because we did talk about this last week, or last year. 10 of the 11 buildings, there was some wording there with FODRIA that's a little out of, FODRIA does actually, and we just need to make sure this clarification is in their handbook, they do allow visitors, they allow parents to come in and eat with their students in the building. They just do not do it in the cafeteria because of crowding and so forth. So FODRIA does have that. Southside, we approved last year, again, after conversation. So we had that listed again this year, but it wasn't necessarily changed for Southside. That's what they had. But FODRIA was listed as not allowing, and they do actually allow parents in the building to have lunch. So just clarification.
And I have a question on, it looks like point 2, it says updated school meal prices. I haven't seen an approval for school meal prices yet, or did I miss it?
Dr. Bozeman, do we have those coming up? Yeah, May 13th we'll have those changes. Yeah,
so it's just coming, okay, it's coming in. And then, I mean, I echo with Mr. Major. I know, like, when we discussed prohibiting parents from eating with their children in the school cafeteria, a lot of the discussion was around safety, space, and obviously bringing in outside food. I would applaud, I believe the smallest school is still the one that is allowing parents in, and so not necessarily the way I would engage with the school, but I have had several parents that have emailed frustrations around this, and so I think although they can take their kids, if you look at where Southside is located, I think you're on at least a 10-minute drive to any restaurant, and so by the time you circle around, and I know one of the accommodations was eating outside, but as you can see, the school calendar does not exactly leave itself to the best of weather. It's between rain and snow. So I don't think either of those accommodations are adequate when we're trying to seek parental engagement. But at the end of the day, that is the face. And so I just want to make sure the parents of CSA, FODRIA, and Southside are made aware that that's the ask before us.
Thank you. So I have a motion and a second to approve item 4F. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Passes 5-2.
Thank you.
Dr. Blake.
I request approval of the HR recommendations presented this evening. In the packet, you will find 17 recommendations. 2 are retirements, 7 resignations, 7 appointments, and 1 leave of absence.
I move that we approve the HR recommendations as presented by Dr. Pleak.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes and Mr. Major. All those in favor of approving item 5, human resources recommendations, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
I do request additional HR recommendations this evening. There were 2 names listed in your packet.
Thank you, Dr. Pleak.
I also move that we approve the additional HR recommendations as presented by Dr. Pleak.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes and Mr. Major. All those in favor of approving item 6, additional human resources recommendations, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Okay.
Are we starting with me?
Mr. Nellen, could we please?
So I won't tell you how many years ago it was when I started teaching, but one of the first things I learned was that 2 of the most important people for a classroom teacher are the custodian and the secretaries in the main office. And I know that it goes way beyond those people that help teachers and students do a better job at what they're trying to do. And I just appreciate that we do a little bit to recognize those people tonight.
I want to second all the classified staff. I mean, the great having so many nominations. I know my mother was one of them back in the day when I was at Taylorsville, and all these TAs and janitors and everyone in the building to keep it running like a smooth operation. It's great to see the celebrations take place. I do have a couple asks, and we were actually discussing this just ahead of the board meeting, was looking to the administration to give us a brief on SB1 and what does it entail in terms of high school graduation pathways. We've seen a couple of them on social media. Not that we want to trust everything that's on social media, but it seemed very legitimate in how they were breaking down, but it'd be great to hear how that may impact us, especially given our cohort model and how are we better prepared to support it. I've also asked to reiterate the reading risk and understanding what is our exposure in terms of incoming third graders at the risk of being held back. I mean, personally, that affects my family. I have one daughter that's on the bubble. I know a lot of others that are fearful as well that have children on the bubble, and I think seeing what solutions we may have to get those children off the bubble or come around them the best we can. And then lastly, I think I just challenge this board. We made a move around the public, and the public wasn't able to see the ask. So again, I think this is a good challenge about this board packet. Although I recognize there's some sensitive, and I would never propose the HR data to be shared, but I don't think there's any harm in being transparent and sharing that packet so that the parents of Southside and the parents of CSA Fadria, if they so choose to have a comment, could have been here and given those comments. And so I received 2 emails late yesterday as a Southside parent. I encouraged both of them, but neither of them had time to make it today due to sporting events, but maybe they would have if they would have known that ahead of time that this was here. And I think, again, we as a board have to recognize we're making changes in people's lives, giving them the visibility to be able to answer and provide accurate feedback in terms of a question rather than just a generic 2024, 2025 handbook changes. I don't think that's on the air of transparency on that one.
First of all, congratulations to Dr. Phillips. Congratulations. And congratulations to all the classified staff that were recognized here this evening. Thank you very much to the North administrative team for sharing info regarding the cohort model. And lastly, best wishes for a safe and fun May the 4th be with you prom this weekend.
Good. My predecessor on the board was Jeff Caldwell, and I get to speak with him from time to time, and we talked about the upcoming decision tonight, and he said, Wheeldon, don't screw this up. This is the biggest decision you're going to make on the board, so I again am excited for our choice and think we're in good hands. Last board meeting, we don't give names and such in the HR recommendations, but we did actually approve Dr. Pleak leaving us in our last board packet. We sort of skimmed by that, and it wasn't highlighted, but there have been some very public announcements regarding Dr. Pleak and her own superintendent spot that we're just so proud of her for. So I wanted to acknowledge that and say congratulations.
Thanks, as the other board members have said, I want to express thanks to North, both for their report tonight and for hosting the board meeting. Additionally, feeling grateful and want to express gratitude about the search process that we've been through. A lot of folks to thank. I want to thank the students, the parents, citizens, taxpayers, other stakeholders who all participated in our survey and helped us identify the kind of superintendent that we need moving forward as a corporation. Special thanks to all those folks in the same categories who reached out directly to me as a board member, reached out to other board members to help us make better decisions, I think. I want to thank the Columbus Educators Association and their leadership for their input that they made into our selection process. Again, that was helpful and helped us make a better decision. I want to thank Dr. Phillips for his strong application and great interviews with the board. Excellent harbinger of what's to come. Thank Mrs. Wheeldon for her expert leadership on the recruitment and selection process. Brought it in on time, on budget. Is that kind of a Cummins thing to say? Thank Ms. Chrisman for her steady hand and organizational abilities, keeping everything running smoothly. I know that Mr. Schultz helped us out with an excellent design for the process that we used for second interviews with our candidates. That was stellar. And I want to thank Mr. Grimes for putting in extra effort with the reference checks. That's an important part of the process, and it was very helpful. At this juncture, I just see good things ahead for BCSC. I'm very excited about the future. Thank you.
So Logan mentioned a board packet. One thing that was in the board packet was a field trip that was being requested approval for, and that field trip is for Smith Robotics and their trip this week to the VEX World Robotics Championships in Dallas. So I just want to wish all the students and family and faculty that is attending that event the best of luck. The other thing, I want to congratulate all seniors who have likely now completed their senior projects and rang their bells at their respective schools. I was lucky enough to be interviewed by 4 different students, and it pays again to have a senior that's part of that process. So I was interviewed 4 times, and my wife was interviewed as well. So we feel very grateful that those students had trust in us to talk to us. But what's really important is to be able to thank all the teachers aides, the mentors, coaches, friends and family who supported those seniors along the way. This last week, I was able to attend 2 different senior project presentations, one at this school and one at East. And it was really nice to see all the different people that come out and support, to sit and listen to the kids talk, to give those kids advice and guidance, and to then shake their hands when they're finished as they exit the room. So I just want to thank all those people that participate in that process along the way, because it is super helpful for those kids to be successful in the end. So thank you.
I want to thank Mr. Clark, and I won't call you all assistant principals, I'm going to call you principals, for being here and showing us how great of a job that is being done here at Columbus North. I also want to congratulate Dr. Phillips, even though he didn't come up and shake our hands. I'm done.
Yeah, we missed that. We missed that. We did miss that. Wow. Come on, Chad.
Everybody does what Pat says. Okay, our next school board meeting will be on May 13th at 6:30 p.m. and we will be back here in Columbus North.
Have some more recognitions. We'll have retirees that evening, as well as that check from the South Asian Network for the foundation.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.